Penn State against Indiana. I figured that we would talk about this game later because I thought it was going to be a blowout. It was not a blowout. And this game was, let me see what it was. What was it? It was 24-24 in the fourth quarter.
Yes.
So, Matt, like, what happened?
Well, frustration was starting to set in on the Penn State side of the ball, right? And they hadn't had the explosives. We had Drew Aller throw his first pick of the year, shockingly. But we saw a picture of him on the sideline talking to James Franklin, and you saw it in his face. He's just like disturbed, disrupted. And I was sitting there going, man, like they can't figure it out offensively. Their defensive side of the ball, for the most part, has been really good. Today against Indiana, they gave up explosives,
dude. And
it was that letdown game. It wasn't even like little bit. It was
the one that we saw. And we were, we're kind of dropping in on some of these games. They ran the corner blitz, blitz, cowboy, whatever the hell you want to call it.
So what that means is,
go ahead.
The outside corner is firing on a blitz, so he's vacating the area,
usually on the short side of the field.
Which means the safety has to replace over the top because they're anticipating that you're going to throw what we call a side adjust.
Yes.
So the wide receiver at that point sees that corner blitz off the top of his face.
And he's got to be ready for the ball now.
He's got to be ready for the ball. Well, the safety
he was sleeping.
He didn't get that memo, and the guy's running wide open down the field and hits him for what?
Shout out to my guy, Scott.
Big touchdown.
It was a touchdown.
Yeah. Just a completely blown coverage.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, geeked out.
So here's the deal. Indiana, big plays, 4 big passing plays, 15 yards or more. A 90, a 69, a 15, a 26. It's not great if you're Penn State.
No, it's not. Especially with the defense, the way that they've played. They've kept them in so many ball games, and they've been suffocating at times, right? Oh, for most of the year, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Even last week against Ohio State.
Dude, they played really well.
They played really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this was just one of those games that you feel like it was, you go into it and it's, hey, it's Indiana. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to absolutely dominate. But you can't take any weeks off in whether it's college football, whether it's the NFL, whether it's anywhere you are. You can't underestimate your opponent, and that's what happened today, I feel like.
So what do we think about Penn State going forward here? I mean, Mike Robb is in our truck as we're watching the games. He is just apoplectic. He is just watching this offense.
Say that again. I'm going to use that.
See, that's not one that I'm
familiar I know.
With. I got to add that.
It's like the apocalypse. It's like the apocalypse, and he is. I think he is. I don't want to speak for Mike Robb, but he's frustrated with the offense. He's frustrated with some of the big plays.
Could you give your best Mike Robb impression right now?
What are we doing here?
Come on, man. This offense is too small, man.
They're too small.
No, this offense needs to get bigger, man.
Shots. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They have a talent advantage. But I think there are a lot of people in the Penn State community that think right now they don't have a schematic advantage.
They don't, and I'm going to be completely honest about that. They absolutely do not have a schematic advantage. I do not like their philosophy whatsoever offensively. I do not think that there is any layer or rhythm to their play calling. It is at a bad point.
They don't marry anything.
They don't. And when your young quarterback, which I fully believe they killed his confidence in Columbus, Ohio. I believe that they did that. When your young quarterback is getting coached by the head coach on the sideline and his body language is bad, you know that there is a disconnect between what is being coached and what the quarterback wants to do and believes in. And so for me, I think when Mike Robb tells us that the offense is too small, what he's getting at is that they do not do things to be explosive. And I think that they need to just take the shots with the quarterback. Because the reality of the situation is, I know you feel like you want to compete this year, and that opportunity certainly is still out there as a one-loss team. But it is more important to develop your quarterback for the future than to just say we're going to dink and we're going to dunk and we're going to do this. And they need to take the governor off of that young man, and they need to let it rip.
Yeah, but that's not the offensive structure. And the fact of the matter is, I give Drew Aller a lot of credit because this is his first interception. That was the first pick that he's trying to make a play, and he threw down there, and that's what they're teaching him to do. This young man understands, look, I got to get the ball to my guys. This is what the offensive structure is. He plays within the system. We know that he has big play potential because we saw him against West Virginia. First series of the game. He steps up and hits Keandre Lambert-Smith for a 71-yard gain. We know that he's got the arm talent, all those different things. Now, this offense has just not been able to develop a consistency factor in creating those big plays. But I also think it depends on the fact that they haven't been able to produce much of the explosive run game either.
Yeah.
They were thinking that Singleton, Allen, these guys that were extraordinary last year, week in and week out, they haven't been the same type of team.
Let me ask you a question, though. Do you think that their run game is helped at all by scheme?
Well, it's the same scheme, and it dominated last year. I think people have went back, reviewed them, watched them, and started to figure out a plan of how we're going to stop them.
Let me ask you the question again. Do you think that the run game has been helped by scheme?
No,
I don't think that they've done enough to change it up.
They've leaned on the same successes that they've had in the past.
I agree with that.
And so you always have to adapt. And that's the thing about football that people don't understand is opponent from week to week changes, scheme changes from week to week. And so you can't go in with the same base plays that you did last week against whoever it might be and go into the next week and think that it's going to have the same successes. Because one, it's a matchup league. Two, who are you going to attack this week and how are you going to attack them? It could be different fronts. It could be a different structure in terms of
different body types.
Yeah, different body types. And so how do you attack that? And that's the biggest thing that you have to look at week in and week out is how do we win this week? How do we create different runs this week? I remember, and I'll just say this because it's true, when I was in New England, Dante Scarnecchian was our run game coordinator, and he was phenomenal. And he was a guy that week in and week out, I used to get so frustrated as a quarterback because we'd go in and we'd have a whole new run game. But this run game was very complex. It had different checks. Sometimes it was off the front, right? It was we're running to a 3 technique, we're running to a 1 technique. Sometimes we're running off a safety. Sometimes it was based off man or zone because we thought that the counter would work better versus certain things. We get guys running, right? And so it was learning a whole new run scheme every single week. But what I started to learn and appreciate is the fact that we adapted every single week. And because he was so committed to that run game and put us in the best position, that we were in an advantageous position every week. And as long as you knew what you were supposed to do, that's when you'd be successful. And that's the chess match in football. If you come back out and think that week in and week out, we're this type of we're a zone team, we're a counter team. Well, fronts change,
right?
Personnel changes. Who are you going to attack? And that's what they have to get to.
And I'll say in the college game, right? Like you got the 20 hours, so
it's harder.
It cannot be to that level. But to your point, I think that they have made a decision. And they said our offensive line is better than it's been. And we've got these 2 backs that are a year better than they were last year. And a quarterback who we feel like can open things up because he can threaten better with his arm. And we're going to stay the same team that we have been philosophically. My approach is if you have an opportunity to vary the scheme, to give yourself an advantage, you need to take that more than they have taken it this year. And I think that would certainly help open up the run game a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the stats. Katron Allen, his longest run, 12 yards. Nick Singleton, his longest run, 7 yards.
Yeah.
That is.
It's been like that all year.
It's all
no go on the explosive plays. And Indiana did outgain them in this game too.
Yeah, they
so
did.
Despite the win, some red flags for Penn State for sure.